morning. You're watching Businessworld Live. I'm Danny Laurel. It's the start of a new trading day. Let's kick off with our banner story. The Senate has ratified the bicameral report on the amendments to the two-decade-old retail trade liberalization. Senators approved the report, reconciling the conflicting provisions of the measure, which is among the three priority economic bills being pushed by foreign business groups and the government. Now, under the reconciled version, the minimum paid-up capital for foreign investors is set at 25 million pesos. That is much lower than the 125 million peso amount set by the present law. Among the retained provisions from the Senate include the preferential use of Filipino labor and foreign retailers' use of Philippine products in their stock inventory. Senators are hoping that the amendments could attract more investments and create more jobs. The House of Representatives has yet to ratify the report, but once it is approved by the lower chamber, it will be sent to Malacanang for the president's signature. Now, the health department says the country's healthcare system remains at high risk. In yesterday's Talk to the People, Health Secretary Francisco Duque III said the increase in cases has been slowing down in most regions and on a national level. But he said the healthcare system remains overwhelmed as the Delta variant left many patients in critical condition. The government hopes to prevent more of such critical cases by ramping up nationwide vaccination. Now, last week, the country marked its record high vaccine arrivals, receiving over 9.5 million doses of COVID shots from September 13th to 19th. That pushed the total vaccine arrivals in the country to 64.9 million doses. Vaccine czar Carlito Galvez said vaccine manufacturers and the national government are still negotiating to scale up the country's monthly allocation beginning this month. Checking in on the market open this Tuesday morning. This, of course, as the world awaits developments on this pandemic situation. The U.S. death toll from the COVID-19 pandemic has surpassed the number of fatalities in the 1918 influenza pandemic. This is quite a milestone. Many experts say this was avoidable after the arrival of the vaccines, but nevertheless, it did happen. On the upside, though, you've got Pfizer and biotech saying their vaccine was safe and produced strong antibody responses in younger children, and the shot may be available by the end of next month, at least in the United States, according to Anthony Fauci. Let's take a look at our open, sliding down by more than 1% this morning, inching its way back to 6,700 levels. And let's take a look at the biggest movers here, specifically if retailers are surging. Does not seem to be the case, as most are, of course, being sold off quite heavily here. Aboitiz Power down by 3 7/10%, followed by Ayala Corp, PLDT, and AC Energy. Let's take a look at one specific sector, and that is the property space. They are getting a lot of love, at least for the REITs that have been listed. A-REIT and Double Dragon in particular have now been added to indices by the FTSE, of course, the Financial Times Stock Exchange. That is both effective on Monday. So A-REIT is now a constituent of the FTSE EPRA Narrate Asia x Japan REITs 10% capped index. A very long title there. Whereas Double Dragon has joined the FTSE Global Equity Index Series Asia Pacific x Japan x China. Double Dragon has said this is a notable recognition. It is an opportunity to increase visibility to possible investors at home, particularly as well to global investors. And one, of course, that's hoping to join that foray is MEGAWORLD. Their MREIT slated to list in a couple of weeks. Meanwhile, they've also announced that the parent company will be developing a 40 billion peso PALAWAN township. That is an ecotourism township in Palawan in the next 10 to 15 years. That's going to be in San Vicente, and it will showcase, according to Kevin Tan, Chief Strategy Officer, sustainable tourism and green living. It's going to be called Paragua Coast Town. That's Palawan's old name, actually was Paragua, and will have hotels, resorts, health and wellness sanctuaries, educational institutions, hotels, and even shopping malls. And they did mention that even as they transform it into a township, they will maintain the island's biodiversity. This is, of course, connected or very close to San Vicente Airport, which has regular flights to and from Manila and Clark. And speaking of flights, just one quick check on PAL. Of course, it is a suspended stock here. We are eyeing on how the developments will go after, of course, this bankruptcy filing over in the US. Meanwhile, they are planning more flights on high density routes. They will be increasing flights to San Francisco, Hong Kong, Los Angeles, Guam, Singapore, Dubai, Doha, Nagoya, and Fukuoka by the end of October. They're saying they're now averaging 27% of the pre pandemic flights on 70% of its route network. Telcos have been the shining star of the pandemic, and PLDT calls this new period a revolution. What exactly do they mean by this? Here to share with us what's in store, we have with us Jovi Hernandez, President and CEO of ePLDT Inc. and SVP and Head of the Enterprise and International Business Groups of PLDT and Smart. Good morning, Sir Jovi, and welcome back to Business World Live.
Hi, Danny. Thanks for having me.
Jovi, looking forward to another Digicon season this year. Of course, this is not the first time that it was all virtual. I've been there every year from, the time that it was in those beautiful big hotel rooms all the way to today. But it's always been more exciting than the last. What are you highlighting this time around?
Thanks, Danny. Yeah, we're learning a lot. Last year was a fantastic event. We've received a lot of positive reviews, but we're still learning, and so we're hoping that we're going to have a bigger digital event this year. The Philippine Digital Convention is set to incite a lot of insights on best practices in technology and maximize opportunities for enterprises to prosper in the digital age. We have highlighted a lineup of plenary sessions, technology leadership forums, and insightful discussions to help drive technological empowerment among enterprises for them to transition into a more digital business environment. We're going to have an interactive platform for all industry stakeholders so they can explore the possibilities gained from these technologies. There's going to be a lot of we're going to have global personalities also who will be part of the digital convention. We will have industry experts, entrepreneurs, luminaries, and we are expecting, Danny, this year that we will most probably reach 10,000 participants or delegates in the digital convention.
Exciting, sir. Sir, what are the key objectives this year specifically when you say revolution compared to what you were hoping to achieve, last year and the years prior, especially now that we are more than a year and a half into this global pandemic?
Yeah, Danny, I think the centerpiece of the discussion is still the pandemic situation, where we've seen a lot of our colleagues, especially in the small and medium enterprise segment, who have closed down their businesses because of the pandemic. And a lot of people say that this is part of human evolution, but we say it should be a revolution this time. So that, in fact, a lot of people are saying it's not anymore a pandemic, it's now endemic to the very nature or the very fabric of life that we have to contend with moving forward. So the digital convention is here to not only inspire a lot of our entrepreneurs, even especially for the small and medium enterprises. It's really a call to action for us to rewire our brains, how we look at the world, and how we're going to use technology to enable businesses moving forward.
Sir, how specifically do you want the participation of MSMEs to be here, especially with the speakers of the convention, and how they're going to be relating to what you mentioned are the ones hardest hit by the pandemic? What can they expect from the speakers?
Danny, we've been talking to BOI, and in fact, that it was very interesting that in 2020 there were about 40,000 online retailers in the country, and this year in the first quarter that has grown to about 120,000 online retailers, small and medium enterprises selling their stuff online. So we're seeing a lot of people actually doing it themselves. They know how to use technology, but given the Philippine Digital Convention, even the small and medium enterprise will be able to see that, they're in the same boat with the large guys. Even the largest of the enterprises are in the same boat, and they're grappling with how they're going to reach out to their customers online. And so it will be an executive mindfulness session, so to speak, if we can be that, for people to realize really what they can do with their business, how they can revolutionize and redefine how they look at their businesses moving forward.
And as a lot of analysts have mentioned, the pandemic has actually leveled the playing field, for small and medium-sized enterprises to join, as you mentioned, the big guns with technology, of course, the great enabler here. Sir, another point that I wanted to make in terms of inclusion, you've included MSMEs in terms of the technology, but PLDT has also recently, announced, and the BSP has announced that you are basically really going into the fintech space now. Voyager Paymaya has just received the go signal from the BSP for a digital banking license. How does this all feed in to this event? The
Yeah.
PLDT is no longer just a technology player providing data, providing internet services, communication services, but even financial services.
Thanks very much, Danny. Yes, we're very happy that we've been able to receive that license for a digital bank. So if you take a look at the whole ecosystem, Danny, right? You're correct in saying that the telco side or the communication side we feel is the very basic foundation for all of these digital technologies to come up. Now that it's established and we are continuing to expand our footprint in the country, enabling a lot more Filipinos to do things online, blah, 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 fintech becomes now a big part of the ecosystem. And if you recall, a couple of years back, the PLDT group has always been about touching Filipino lives. And if there are ways for us to push some technologies of our own into the market for us to be able to help Filipinos, better their lives, I mean, we're becoming really a cashless society. A lot more transactions are happening all over these fintech platforms, and we're very happy to put that into the ecosystem and try to see how we can help the Filipinos.
Very interesting here, especially for the small and medium-sized enterprises that have, excluded customers excluded from the financial space. They're actually going to have the opportunity to onboard them. Sir, let's talk about the people that you're going to be highlighting here. Of course, you've already revealed some teasers on Charlize Theron as your keynote. Last year, it was Gwyneth Paltrow. There seems to be a lot of women power here. Is this something that you've specifically thought about? But really, why Charlize Theron? What does she have to do with digital revolution and PLDT?
Well, we've been looking at, we've had such a big success last year that we thought of taking a look at who are going to be very strong influencers. Not only talking about just pure business, it's really about advocacy as well. When we saw the profile of Charlize, she's, aside from being an Oscar-winning actress and producer, she's also an entrepreneur and an advocate. A lot of people know that she's from South Africa, and she has her own organization called CTAOP, Charlize Theron Africa Outreach Project. So we feel that she's going to be a very good influencer in terms of really taking a look at what are the things that we need to be looking at moving forward. During this pandemic, in fact, they said we've been purified a bit because we're now looking at the essentials. And then part of that is going to be some advocacy on sustainability, of course, women power. Diba? I mean, there's a lot of gender equality, and we feel that Charlize is going to be able to provide that very good insights in her actual experiences in terms of pushing for these agenda.
And of course, it's the advantage of having things virtual. Now you can get these kind of speakers that would not, otherwise be there. Sir, who else are the other speakers of the convention so that our viewers know who to expect?
Yeah, so we have a lot of global speakers with us. We have the SVP and head of Asia Pacific for Nokia, Mr. John Harrington. We also have the president of Huawei Asia Pacific, Mr. Nicholas Ma. We have the president of Cisco Asia Pacific and Japan and Greater China, Mr. Dave West. We have the president of NTT Global Data Centers, Mr. Yasuo Suzuki. We have our very own Filipino business tycoons, which will participate in the event. We have Chairman and CEO of Panshop Group, Mr. Bernie Liu. We have Mr. Joseph Tambuntiong of Jollibee Group. We have the President and CEO of JG Summit, Mr. Lance Gokong Wei. We have Christopher Po of Century Pacific, and we have CEO of Global Alliance, Mr. Kevin Tan. Of course, we have our very own MVP, our chairman, our president, Al Panlilio, and many of the key officers who will be part of the event. And we will also be having, as our moderator for some of the plenary sessions, our very own Miss Cathy Yan. So it's a very exciting event for us, and we're really looking forward to having everybody in the event. And we will be launching a couple of new things Danny, which is we're very excited about. So we're inviting everybody to join the Philippine DigiCon 2021.
Thank you, sir. And finally, before we let you go, let's talk about the technologies that will be in focus here. Is there going to be a stark difference between before, where you were looking at cloud technology, cybersecurity, 5G, other specific industry solutions? Are there going to be new technologies that are going to be discussed more related to, as you mentioned, inclusivity, the pandemic, MSMEs?
Right. So a lot of these technologies that we've discussed last year remain to be relevant, Danny, in terms of what are the things that we need to do. I think what our focus this year is how we combine these technologies together. Um, Not to spill all the beans, but we will also be launching a new platform, which is the Smart IoT platform. This is really going to be revolutionary, we feel, for the Philippines, because it will allow people now to develop a lot of these Internet of Things, not only from a device perspective, but also solutions, and which can be pushed to the market. And this platform is going to be revolutionary. I'll give you a glimpse, Danny. Before, if we had to provision like 10,000 SIMs, I would assume you could imagine how hard that is. This one, the customer can actually deploy it themselves. They can actually have full control of all of those devices that they would be pushing out to the market. So all of the concepts in terms of Internet of Things for agriculture, for weather, for deliveries, all of these things will be made more possible with the platform that we are going to be launching. So that's something new that we're going to do this year, Danny.
Very exciting, sir. How can our viewers participate in the DigiCon 2021? Is this free for all? How do they register? Tell us, give us the specifics.
Sure, that's one thing we're very proud of. This convention is free, no charge. So we invite viewers to participate in the convention by watching it online from their own web devices through our Philippine Digital Convention platform. Again, registration is free. You can register at www.phdigicon2021.com or on our PLDT Enterprise official website. I would like to encourage everyone in attendance to approach every session with an open mind. There's going to be a lot of networking also happening. And with the diverse lineup of our speakers this year, I'm excited that people share their ideas with us, and we can expect to broaden our horizon and better understanding of how business is done in the new world of digital transformation. So especially for our colleagues, entrepreneurs, small and medium enterprises, this is not only for the big guns. This is for everybody. We will learn from each other. In fact, Danny, I would even venture to say that some of the big companies are now learning from the small guys
For
who are
sure.
more agile, who have been faster in adapting technology. So please visit our website at www.pldtenterprise.com/phdigicon 2021 to register. Or you can also follow PLDT Enterprise on our website, and we also have a lot of announcements over Facebook or Twitter for updates regarding our event. And we expect you to be there, Danny. Thank you again for joining our event.
Be there. So 6 to 8 October, guys. Save the date. And thank you, Jovi Hernandez, President and CEO of EPLDT Incorporated and SVP and Head of Enterprise and International Business Groups of PLDT and Smart.
Thank you, Danny. See you, everybody.
Here are the other headlines. We're keeping our eyes on the online grocery market in the Philippines is expected to become a 51 billion peso market by 2025. That is according to independent London-based analytics and consulting firm Global Data. Global Data's Philippine Grocery Industry Report says this much growth is expected after online grocery spending grew by 153% in 2020 as consumers shifted to digital transactions amid the pandemic. Now, in terms of its compound annual market growth, the country's online grocery market is expected to grow by about 32% between 2020 and 2025. The consulting firm named Allday as the leading player in the mid-premium market segment, which is attracting a wide spectrum of shoppers via in-store and online promotions. Global Data added that Allday is the fastest growing supermarket operator in the country. Recall that Allday filed for an application for a 6 billion peso IPO with the SEC and PSE last month. The company plans to offer up to 6.85 billion common shares at 80 centavos each with an over-allotment option of up to 685 million shares. Now, excise tax collections from cigarettes jumped by 31% to 83 billion pesos in the first 7 months of the year. The increase in excise taxes from tobacco products was attributed to higher tax rates and sales improvement. That's based on a report from Finance Assistant Secretary Maria Teresa Habitan. She said people are still smoking despite the pandemic, hence the industry is still selling a higher volume of its products. She said the 5 peso increase in excise taxes slapped on each pack of cigarettes contributed 8.2 billion pesos to overall collections. And that's a first look into the business day. Today is Tuesday, September 21, 2021. Catch Business World Live for the market close. It's at 3:15 p.m. today. I'm Danny Laurel. Mask on, wash hands, stay safe, Philippines. We are One News.